I see some folks on the call this morning that will get a kick out of this. So I literally pulled an audible like about 5 minutes ago. I was like, you know what? I do not like what I was going to talk about. So I just chicken scratched all of my stuff. But you all have heard me talk about people, process, and product, right? So I want this great product. I want this great service for my customers. And well, how do I do it? Well, you have the right people doing the right things, and you never have to worry about whether or not the outcome is going to be right. It's just a foregone conclusion. And said differently, it's about scale. And you all know our story, right? 15, 16 years ago, basement of a house, 2 people, grow to what it is that we are today. And really, it's all fancy talk for we built a small team and then we began to scale. We had the right people doing the right things, and the growth was a foregone conclusion. And so I was reading an article, I think it was yesterday, where they had taken these sort of they'd taken all these companies and they split them into 2 groups. Like you had the high performance companies and you had sort of the below average performance companies. Was that PC enough? Anyway, so you had these 2 companies, and the one thing that they deduced was that the high performing companies, by and large, 80% of them, by and large, had systems in place, process in place, automation in place. And so I wanted to kind of walk through some of the key points. And again, from my chicken scratch, that I see as sort of the go-tos for growing your business. And here's a great thing. Each and every one of you has your own business, regardless of how big or small you are or where you want to be, you have your own business. So every single one of these processes, these scalabilities apply directly to your business, right? And then we'll talk a little bit about how we are there to support you in some of these things and some of the pitfalls that maybe you've come across as a result. But number one, when I think of scale, what I really think about is what is it that I can create that's repeatable, right? What is it that I can build that's predictive? Like I want the outcome to be something that I can count on, like money in the bank, that if I do these things, this is what the outcome is going to be. So that's what we really have to think about. And of course, it would make sense then if we're allowing the outcome to be reliant on somebody's mood, somebody's thought process that day, somebody's influences, well, then you're never going to have a consistent and predictive experience for consumer. So automation then and leverage becomes very, very, very important. Clarity of position. When we talk about scale, and we can talk about like, well, what should be my first hire, or that's for a different conversation. Really what we're doing is we're saying, hey, listen, from a clarity perspective, the people that I am delegating my work to have got to be perfectly clear on what it is that their job is. And without that clarity, then we don't have the predictive and consistent, right? So clarity of position was number one. Hire right and train right. Luckily for you all, we have people like Teresa Pemberton, our Vice President of Human Resources, that has been here since the very beginning and knows exactly what it means to hire the right people, following the right processes. We say we hire slow. Boy, I tell you what, we hire slow, right? But we make sure that we train really, really well. And the purpose for that is that once they're trained properly and they have clarity of their position, we can count on the end result, right? Again, the product. Accounting, accountability is what I meant when I wrote that down, right? So when we are talking about scaling, I think it's easy to say, hey, listen, here's the position that I need to fill, and here's the person that I want it filled. Now go do it. That doesn't really work. You've got to have these accountability measures in place so that you're constantly getting the feedback to ensure that the right things are being done. Let's face it, folks. Every single one of us, I don't know. I was going to say maybe there's somebody out there that doesn't fit this. I doubt it. Every single one of us would rather be sitting on the couch, laying out in the sun, having bonbons, having a cocktail, whatever it is, right? Discipline sucks. in and of itself. So accountability is a requirement for all of us to achieve the desired results. So having proper accountability is really important. That tracking and measuring creates that discipline that's necessary, because we all get excited. We've all talked about it. We all heard, oh yeah, inspiration. Hey, listen, we have a Mindset Monday. So like, I'm right there with you all. But truthfully, Mindset Monday is great to get us going, but Mindset Monday and having inspiration doesn't get us up on Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Thursdays or, God forbid, Fridays, right? So discipline is part of the byproduct of that accountability. We talked about hiring slow, firing fast. There's a bunch of people that will disagree with that. I'm just here to tell you, as somebody who has watched an organization go from 2 to 400, whatever it is that we are today, that hiring slowly and firing fast is really, really important. And for those of you that have been through the process with us, you know we are very, very intentional. We are very, very slow. But we do that for a reason. There's a purpose behind it. And as a result, we have less mistakes. How's that? All right. All right. The other thing was be the thermostat, not the thermometer. You know, when we start talking about scaling, something changes. And I have to tell you, I was not the right guy for this job. And maybe I'm still not the right guy for this job, but I can tell you that there was a time where I was very much emotionally driven. And then I had to sort of grow up. And I grew up kicking and fighting. Like, I didn't want to grow up. I wanted to be, the Todd that I was. I was not the right guy to lead this organization. And it required me to think differently and become the thermostat, not the thermometer. And what I mean by that is that, each of us in our business, if we want to lead our business, we want to grow our business, we want to scale our business to be something that's consistent, then we too need to be consistent. And we need to start being consistent inside in order for it to be seen and felt outside. Right? So my emotional state, the way I show up each and every day, needs to be more constant. Well, a thermostat dictates what the temperature is going to be. A thermometer, on the other hand, simply reacts to what the temperature is externally. Right? A thermometer is great for telling you what the temperature is, but what we want to be, if we're going to grow and scale, is we want to dictate what the temperature is. We want to dictate what the emotional state is. We want to dictate the energy that's in the room. We want to dictate what is a acceptable temperature, right? So hopefully that makes sense. I wrote down delegate before it's too late. Delegate before it's too late. This is one of the most difficult ones, and I'm looking at some of the people on this call right now, and I'm talking to you, all right? And so this is one of those really challenging things that in our minds and our hearts and our souls, we believe we are the only ones that can do this job. And you are mostly right. The problem is you will not grow, you will not scale, and you will not create these predictable, repeatable experiences for your customers. And so here's what I mean. Number one, you must admit that you have a problem. Number two, you have to say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm going to delegate this. And yeah, it's probably true. I'm only going to get 80% of what I would do, right? I can do it at 100%. I know exactly what that means. I feel it. It's in my bones. It's inherent in me. I'm only going to get 80%, and that is okay. Here's the good news. I may only get 80% of the job that gets done, but I will get 3 times the jobs done. Follow me with that, right? You want to go fast, you want to go furious, you go alone. If you want to go far, you want it repeatable, duplicatable, predictive, you go with others, right? You've got to delegate before it's too late. Training. You cannot expect anybody within your organization, our organization, anybody else's organization to be able to know and understand and produce the proper outcomes unless they have the skill sets necessary to do the job, right? And so that's why we go through this whole process of, hey, what are your goals? What are you looking for your outcomes? Well, what's the plan? What do you have to execute on in order to do that? That's fantastic, right? Do you have the right people in place? Oh, great, let's hire the right people. Oh, by the way, do they have the right skills we backfill with the skills, and that is the process that we go each and every year. And those of you that work with any of the coaches know exactly what I'm talking about, because it literally is our process. And I think the last one on my list is ABLE. And what ABLE stands for is always be learning everything, right? Not always be learning, always be learning everything. In life, in business, everything is transferable, right? And what I mean by that, and we touched a little bit on being the thermostat, I think about like how you show up here is how you show up there. These are all really interesting ways of saying everything that you learn is completely and totally transferable. If my spiritual growth is growing, I can't help but grow in some other areas. If my discipline and my physical fitness is growing and I'm learning, I can't help but grow in other areas. It reveals, maybe consciously to ourselves, areas that we might be falling short. Yes, but it lights, it triggers something in another area of your life to grow. So be growing in your business, be growing in your finances. Here's a perfect example. If you are financially a 2, you are not making good choices. It's impossible, right? Because you're living in a state of fear that will create decisions that don't serve you, your family, your finances, your fitness, your spirituality. You follow what I'm saying, right? They're completely and totally transferable. Again, those of you that have coached with us, we talk about faith, we talk about family, we talk about relationships, your marriages, your spouse, your significant others. We talk about your finances. We talk about your fitness. I think I said it's got to go up all those twice, but you know what I mean. The reason we talk about those things is very, very specific. The purpose is that one way dictates how you behave the other way. So all of this is all fancy for have the right people doing the right things and you get the right outcome. It's all about scale, scale, scale. So I've got one little piece that I want to wrap this up with. Most of you understand that the organization that you have aligned yourself with, the organization that you've hooked your wagon to, is a little bit different. We are a full service organization. We've got the Carries of the world, the Shannas of the world, the Todd Simons of the world, the Teresas of the world, the Ryan Browns, the Suzanne Woods, the Sarah Donaldsons, the Shawnee Carvers, on and on and on and on and on, right? That is your team. The good news is that you don't need to go out and try to figure out what the clarity of a position for marketing is. We've already done it for you. You don't need to go figure out, hey, what are the credentials and how am I going to interview and hire? We've already done that for you, right? We've hired slow, right? And we've trained properly. You don't need to worry about how to train them because we've already done that. You don't need to worry about how to hold them accountable because we've already done that. We've done all of the things that we've just talked about needing to occur in a company that is scaling and growing, the high performance organizations. What you need to do is simply delegate before it's too late. You need to delegate and trust before it's too late. Make sure that the people around you that are there, your team, are working with you, or you are working with them to make sure that they're clear on what it is that you are looking for, outcome, right? And then you hold each other accountable. And here's the one thing I will tell you, you will end up in that top 9% of all real estate agents that are doing over 50% of the business. And that's right, that's the number. Right? There are a lot of people that are not making it. And I'm like, the world is really frothy right now, right? I worry about those people and what happens to them when the market changes. Do it now, prepare now, make sure that you're the thermostat, not the thermometer. Hope that helps. And as always, be distinctive.